Hi, welcome to Off Script. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Today on the show, we're taking a look at Elvis. The new music biopic is out, and we are going to talk about it. We're also looking at Lightyear. Pixar's newest foray into space has arrived, also known as Toy Story 5 in some audiences. And we're going to talk about it. Well, a prequel to Toy Story, really, right? It would be Toy Story has succumbed to prequelitis.
Yeah, it's already getting a little complicated.
It's a little complicated, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about some upcoming trailers, exciting things that are coming out. First things first, when we get to the news, Netflix just laid off a bunch of people. 300 positions cut at Netflix in anticipation of their Q2 announcement of what we suspect will be 2 million subscribers lost. Good God, Andy, Netflix is really circling the drain, or so it sounds, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Netflix has really struggled this year, I guess, losing a ton of subscribers. They're anticipated to lose, I think it's 2 million subscribers. It was just 200,000 last quarter.
Yeah.
It's over a couple million this quarter. So it's bad. And what they're doing is cutting back on production staff. They basically cut a bunch of contracts with production companies mostly. And so that's what's being done. And I mean, their stock has tanked like 70% as well. So it's hard times for them.
I tell you, if I was leadership at Netflix, I'd be nervous. I don't know how you dig yourself out of this other than quality content that keeps people coming back. And unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be their answer. They did have some statement about movies that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. They want to invest in smarter scripts, but that remains to be seen. In the meantime, it seems like they're interested in cracking down on things like password sharing, which I don't think will work for them. They've also mentioned an ad-supported tier. I mean, I don't know. It feels weak. Right now, you guys need money and you're talking to advertisers. You should be talking to studios to make better content. Like that's what's going to bring people back to your platform. Ads drive people away, but content brings people in. I don't know. Am I crazy?
Well, one of the things that Netflix has really faced is staunch competition from Disney Plus, HBO Max, Paramount. Like we're in the middle of the streaming wars, but there are some bigger players that are really chomping away at Netflix's piece of the pie, and their their answer is to like you said, cut down on password sharing, or they are trying to make better movies. And an example they gave was instead of making two $10 million movies, let's make one $20 million movie. So they are trying to have a little bit better quality control, but you just got to have things that really grab people. They have Stranger Things, and that's basically it. And there's 2 more episodes left of that. And then, like, what else are you going to watch? What other series is really getting you going?
Yes. Your new favorite statement is, what was the last Netflix original you rewatched? Not many. Like there are a few things that keep you coming back to Netflix. I saw this great, I should probably just go find it real fast. I saw this great little like graph that Forbes put together, I think earlier this week, about Netflix and where they're at by just polling random readers of Forbes, right? People who are subscribed to Netflix, what they think. And they said, like, of their polls, 70% of Netflix users share their passwords. That's what 70% admitted to sharing their passwords. And when asked how many would drop the service if they couldn't share their password anymore, or if they had to start paying instead of using a shared password, it was like 64% of people said they would quit Netflix. Like people don't want to change. Like, and I think trying to make people change is not going to be a great move for them. But I mean, they're going to set they're going to spend 17 billion. I think I had a stroke on content in the next year. That's what it says. Like, so they're definitely committed to making more stuff. I don't know. If I was Netflix, real quick, I'd be worried, man.
Yeah, in this article, I don't know if you noticed, there's a True Detective
announcement
in the sidebar.
Who is this person? I know we don't talk about TV a lot here on Oscar, but Andy and I appreciate cinematic television. And True Detective season 4 at HBO has cast Callie Rice and lead role opposite Jodie Foster. What else has she done? Hold on, we should probably talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get off on
should probably get back. Yeah. All right. Well,
but yeah, they've cast the detective opposite Jodie Foster, which is exciting.
Great.
If you're into that,
more about her.
that
show. Back on the track of movie news, Ghostbusters Afterlife has officially been greenlit for a sequel to hit theaters in December 2023. I think they already announced they were making a sequel to this, But now we have a few more details. Jason Reitman will be returning to direct the film. Son of Ivan Reitman, of course, original writer and director of Ghostbusters, who helped out in the last movie shortly before his passing. Jason is back in the saddle, ready to make a new Ghostbusters movie. Andy, I mean, you're not quite the Ghostbusters fan I am. I like this series a little bit more than you do. What do you think?
I mean, it was expected. The movie did pretty well considering it came out in November, pretty strongly during the pandemic was still going pretty strong then. So it made around $200 million globally, and so that was enough to highlight the, to greenlight a sequel, which isn't really surprising to anyone. It was much better received than the 2016 version, although that version actually made more money, so it's kind of puzzling in some ways. But anyways, this movie is going back to New York. We're going back to the firehouse, back to the roots of Ghostbusters, and so it'll be kind of more in the traditional sense of how those movies were made.
Yeah, Ghostbusters Afterlife has a peculiar ending that may encourage future endeavors in the Ghostbusters universe, and it sounds like they're going to carry those out. I think, why not? It is worth mentioning. I think a fun fact about Ghostbusters Afterlife. Ghostbusters Afterlife made about $30 million less worldwide than Ghostbusters 2016, also known as Ghostbusters Answer the Call, also known as the Ghostbusters with all the chicks. So in case anybody says they had a problem with the chick one and they wanted to carry out the kid one, yeah, totally. But the chick one definitely got a higher score. It definitely made more money, and that's worth mentioning. I think I don't know. Maybe they can tie that in a little bit. I don't know. It does feel weird that they tried in 2016 to do this and totally had a setup ending at the end of that one too. And that one didn't really go anywhere. But now we've got this one with kids and made a little less money, but bang, all in a shot. We got strong audience sensibilities and we're going with it,
Yeah.
Remains to be seen what's coming.
It's taking a page out of Stranger Things. You got a kid cast back,
Yes.
which is so funny because Stranger Things is inspired by films of the 80s like Ghostbusters. So
yeah, very, very much so. It's just like the new It films, right? Like Stranger Things was inspired by Stephen King works like It, and that subsequently spoke to what the new It was going to look like. It's this bootstrap philosophy that Ghostbusters is inevitably tied into. Jury's still out on if they get the old cast back. Bill Murray probably won't be coming back. He was just in that movie Being Mortal on it for Aziz Ansari's producing the Searchlight when he was asked to leave the set following studio complaints about his behavior. So, who knows what's going to happen with new Ghostbusters? But keep it here for more. It'll be coming out December 2023. Be Christmas Ghostbusters, and competing with Star Wars. Our last story: Elvis croons past Top Gun Maverick to win rare box office dance-off with $31 million. I don't know if there's anybody more surprised about this than Andy and I, because we both thought this was going to be a low-key bomb. So
I definitely thought this was going to be a bomb again, because older audiences have not come out, and that changed a little bit with Top Gun Maverick. But that's kind of an event picture. It was a sequel to a beloved property. It had action, Tom Cruise, all this stuff. So it kind of makes sense why it was successful. But I mean, Elvis is an original film from a eccentric director, and so it was unsure, but it really did resonate with audiences. You had large number or people coming in large numbers over the age of 35 and even over 55. So it's definitely speaking to older generations.
It definitely helps that it's being well received. Movie's got a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes, at least according to audiences, 79 for critics. And it's weird to see how many people turned out that are in older audiences. 56% of the audience was over the age of 35. 29% of that was over the age of 55. So a third of people were 55 or older that went and saw this movie. That's real good numbers for that group of audience, because those people are not getting out and seeing movies. Andy, I think the boomers might have saved cinema between Top Gun and Elvis. That's all we needed was the old people to come back and watch the movies again. Thank God for them.
Yeah, it's nice to see just more variety and diversity in your audience, because you don't want to just be catering to the 18 to 35 age group, even though that's kind of the prime demographic. It's nice to have lots of different types of films for different audiences.
Yeah. Additionally, it's worth mentioning the Black Phone also did better than expected. That made about $23 million, which I guess I'm not too surprised by. I didn't think that was going to be any kind of a hit, and $23 million, it's not really a hit. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess that did as expected. And it's worth mentioning Top Gun, I think, has formally cleared $1 billion worldwide, right?
Yeah, it's now
Which is
it's Top Guns. It's Tom Cruise's highest grossing film ever, most successful film. Only the second film in the pandemic era to cross over $1 billion. So it's a mega hit. I mean, they were hoping for like 600 to 700 global take, and it's done almost that much just domestically.
I'm curious. I know we talked about that. I asked you this offline last week, but like, what year are we walking into the theaters to see Top Gun Rooster? Like, I'll give it 2 years. I'm saying 2024.
2025.
Really? All right. Okay, that's fair. Like I said, a sequel seems inevitable in some fashion, right? Like,
I mean,
it
it
really
doesn't.
set up for one, but I mean, how do you get that much money and just say we're not making any more of these? There's no way.
You can kill every character, but if you make $1 billion, they're bringing the property back in some form or fashion. I mean, again, the Joker movie, which was made on a $70 million budget, which is amazing to make over $1 billion on, especially a film like that.
Yeah, bananas. Like, what a return. My God. And also one more thing from the box office before we move into our Elvis review. Lightyear did okay, but it had a big fall off in its second week, which is an unprecedented decline for a Pixar movie, which is weird because this is their first Pixar film back in theaters, but this one's had a bit of a rocky marketing approach, if you're familiar.
Lots of fierce competition too.
Yes, that's also true. Yeah.
It came out the week after Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, and Maverick's still going strong. So there's an interesting statistic there that apparently 4% of film goers that are 4% of people that have seen Top Gun Maverick have gone at least 4 times. So it's really had legs.
Have you seen it twice?
No,
I only saw it once. Yeah, no, I didn't.
It's I know people more than once for sure.
But well, yeah, sure. But we had a lot of movies to see. And speaking of movies, we should probably get to our full review of Baz Luhrmann's new film. Andy, I think Andy, you're taking the summary on this one, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Andy's graciously agreed to take the summary on this one. Andy, please take it away.
Elvis. So this is the long in production musical biopic of the king of rock and roll himself, Elvis. Directed by Baz Lurhmann, who famously did Romeo and Juliet, Moulin Rouge, The Great Gatsby. I think was The Great Gatsby his last film? Surely he's
yes, yeah, Gatsby starring Tobey Maguire and Leo DiCaprio. Yes.
So he's known as a kind of eccentric director. Really brings a lot of flair, a lot of energy to his projects. So this tells the almost complete story of Elvis from his kind of humble beginnings in Tupelo, Mississippi, Missouri, the Deep South, and his rise to fame, and with his unique style and stage presence. And it's all told through the lens of Tom Hanks's character, the kind of devious Colonel Tom Parker, who was Elvis's promoter, and who was also kind of swindling him at the same time. The movie, like I said, it's a span of his whole life. Lots of big musical numbers. We get to see, Austin Butler. I forgot to say he was playing Elvis. Austin Butler, who embodies the king himself, and puts on a number of really incredible performances, recreating iconic events. And it's a long film. It's 3 hours, 2 hours 40 minutes. And it's a lot going in there. But what else would you expect from a tale of the king of rock and roll? Zach, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, okay. The Elvis I want to say before we jump into it that there's a reason Andy and I were a little skeptical about this one. And it's not just because it's Baz Luhrmann, right? The wacky director of Moulin Rouge and Great Gatsby and Romeo plus Juliet and Australia. It's because, how reasonably Elvis is an older property. And how do you hoist up the king of rock and roll, right? One of the most influential figures of the 20th century, the best-selling solo music artist of all time. How do you do that? How do you cover that? A guy who also passes away at the age of 42. It's got to be a tight story. You got to cover a lot. You got to cover the good and the bad, right? Like he looks great on stage, but he also has a mad temper and whips that revolver around, eats a lot of fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches. Uh, Elvis is a challenging figure to adapt, which is why it hasn't really been done before outside of a couple of TV movies and I think a decent swing in 2005 with the mid-budget feature. But Baz Lurhmann and Austin Butler got together and said, "Hey, we really want to try to make this work." And Lurhmann does a really fantastic job of keeping Elvis like just at arm's length by using Colonel Tom Parker as kind of our main character in the film to keep it's like a shell story around this great character that is Elvis. We get to know him for sure, and we get to follow the most exciting parts of his career. But you never really get inside his head, and I think that's really smart. It makes for a decent watch. It's a little long, and I'm excited to talk about Elvis. Andy, where do you want to start?
Oh, geez. Well, we'll start with casting, I guess. And again, I'll start with Austin Butler, who's really amazing. I mean, his performances. There's, I think, 3 or 4 kind of big numbers where he's on stage and he's, doing the Louisiana Hayride, the comeback special, and also older Elvis stuff. And he just looks incredible. Like he really captures the energy. And I think that's one of the things the movie does right, because if you just recreated the same performance, well, that was, that music's 70 years old. It's not really exciting or new, but Baz Luhrmann presents it in a way that's just full of energy and like the very first performance that we see him in his pink suit, and these parts are in the trailers, but like he starts moving and like the women in the crowd just lose their mind, like, and it's real slowly too. It's like it's like some sort of demon possessing
and all
them.
the dudes in the crowd are horrified.
Yeah.
like, oh god, like what are we seeing?
It's such an incredible way to show what this person was doing and how it was affecting people as the audience reactions. But he's awesome as the different versions of Elvis. The performances are spot on, and he's singing for a long time. So I don't really know Austin Butler for much, but he comes from Broadway, so he's got the singing chops already. But really does a great job of sounding like Elvis, like talking like he did, and the mannerisms, especially as he gets older. I kind of thought they were overdoing this because like Elvis is basically drenched in sweat for the last third of the film, and I was like, that's too much. That's over the top. But then I went back and looked up some old Elvis performance, and that's what he looks like. Like he's just drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
So he's incredible. What do you think of Butler's performance?
So I looked up a little trivia before we got started here, just to kind of wrap my head around the feature a little bit, and I wanted to list off some of the other actors who had submitted like screen tests and read for Elvis. These are the top of the list before Austin Butler got it. Ansel Elgort from Baby Driver, Miles Teller from our new Top Gun Maverick, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's in the new movie Bullet Train, and Harry Styles, who's in Don't Worry, Darling. All up and coming actors who are young and perfectly capable, right? But Austin Butler gets it. And I think it's because he's a bit of a newcomer. He's got some background in Broadway. He's got some background on Disney Channel. He's in a few shows. I've seen screen caps of him. But uniquely, like he's positioned because people don't really know him. And that helps you over the course of the film blend into feeling like you're watching functionally Elvis Presley. Austin Butler does not look quite like Elvis. They do stretch it and work it a little bit to make him blend. And you do get some kind of cuts between him and actual Elvis in the feature that really help like kind of solidify that in your mind. But it presents the emotional illusion that you don't really know who you're looking at, and you can kind of fit him into that Elvis mold. It's the same thing Chris Nolan did with John David Washington in Tenet, right? Instead of using like a really established actor as your protagonist secret agent, you use a nobody. And that person is suddenly like perfectly blendable in the role you need them to be. It's really smart casting, and Butler's great in it. The guy's a lightning rod. He steals every scene. You're constantly looking at Elvis like he's the center stage all the time, and it works great. Like I said in my intro, because he's not the center of the film, really. I mean, he's what we revolve around. He is the sun around which this film moves. But Tom Hanks is kind of the the crunchy candy shell, and he's doing this kind of funny, kind of funny villain thing. He's got a bit of an accent. Colonel Tom Parker was a bit of a manager and a bit of a promoter and a bit of a swindler for Elvis. And after Elvis's death, it came out that he was like holding Elvis over a barrel for millions of dollars, and there were all these trials. And he said he was a citizen of no country because technically he wasn't a citizen of America. I don't think. It's nuts. Like, and so the whole film is presented as being told by Colonel Tom Parker in his deathbed, and you get Tom Hanks doing kind of goofy, schlocky Tom Hanks. It works. It does not work as well as Austin Butler. Austin Butler's the star here.
Yeah. So with Colonel Tom Parker, I listened to an interview with Tom Hanks, and one of the things he did is he didn't really research the guy and too much. Like he knew who he was, but he didn't like look up interviews and like look for what he looked like. So he takes on this this kind of strange Dutch accent just because he happened to be Dutch. Apparently the real Colonel Tom Parker didn't look like that. But
I looked at a picture earlier. He doesn't look quite as like, I don't,
scheming and menacing.
Yeah.
But he is, he has a carnival background. And he was a carny in the Netherlands, and he came over to the States and continued to be a carny and kind of a swindler. And he was a man who managed dancing chickens, and Elvis had just happened to be his biggest one. I think the film does succeed by telling the story through Colonel Tom Parker, but it's kind of a weird choices by Hanks, and I think it's fine. It's a little distracting, but it's also not like an incredible performance either.
No, I think he was a bit, I hesitate to say underused, but yeah, I mean, I read so far as people saying online that he had like poorly ADR'd lines in the movie. I didn't really notice any, but that's mostly due to the very bombastic editing style of Baz Luhrmann, which we should probably try to explain to maybe people who have no idea what we're talking about. But Baz Luhrmann, if you haven't seen his previous works like Moulin Rouge or Australia or Great Gatsby or God, there's one big Romeo plus Juliet, like it's his cinematography and his editing, it has a ton of energy. The man's an auteur to a T. Like lots of snap zooms, crash zooms, pullbacks, big sways, pans, like just whipping that camera around. And then using lots of really wild imaginative transitions between that and the editing room creates like a very manic style of film. Like it moves really quickly. The first few opening minutes of this, I leaned over to Christine sitting in the theater next to me and was like, I don't know if I can get through this. Like just the opening sequence is so radically edited. I mean, using like thirds of the screen to show different things and cutting to different footage of Elvis and Austin, like just bananas. Like, and it does, it gives the film an identity, like in its way, for what it's worth. And I think it's strong. I don't think it hurts it, but like, God, I could see it being a turnoff for some people. I feel like there's gonna be people that walk out of this movie that say, I don't like it, and I can't really nail down why. And the reason is because it's like a fever dream.
Yeah.
It's like a panic attack. It's crazy.
The whole movie is turned up to 11 all the time, and that's part of it is in the editing, which you really feel through the first kind of third of the film. Someone pointed out that around the middle of the movie is when Elvis is trying to make movies, and it was a dull part in his career because he never really took off as a movie star, and that's actually kind of that's reflected in the film because it's kind of a very bland part of the movie as well. So it's an interesting way that editing itself can be used as storytelling. But yeah, Zach's right. There's so many cuts, and they're just coming at you, spinning newspapers. It's just like a mile a minute, but it helps convey like just the energy and the following and the buzz that Elvis had, especially when he first came on the scene.
It's like those old Spice commercials where the guy would like, look at your man, now look at me, now back at your man, now back. It's like that for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like some of the, not always, obviously, like it does calm down. Andy's right. Like it does slow down a bit in the middle once you kind of get in the film. But like, God, some of these musical montages, I mean, some of these sequences where he's like touring or playing certain shows, like just bananas. Yeah, like camera pushes into an eye and then pulls out and it's Tom Hanks, then spins into a roulette wheel and he's walking through a gambling casino. Like just just so all over the place. But I don't think it's bad. Like it really it creates really tight pacing and really pulls you into into the feature. You don't get all of Elvis's life. You get just a little bit of, you know, his life as a kid. And then you meet him when he's like 16 or 17, right? Playing a show, and Colonel Tom Parker meets him, and then you get most of the rest of his life. It does a pretty good job of cherry picking, right? You can't tell all of Elvis's story in 2 hours and 40 minutes. You can try, but you're going to have to pick some of the good parts and some of the bad parts, and you're going to have to sanitize some of the parts that you don't really want to talk about on screen, like how old Priscilla Presley was when they met. or
Yeah,
how damn angry Elvis got at stuff. He reportedly had a real bad temper, man, like real bad, and that is not really in the film.
yeah, that, I mean, that brings us to script and narrative, and you're exactly right. We get we don't get a clean Elvis, but we also don't. It's not like, I was reminded of Bohemian Rhapsody, which Sacha Baron Cohen was originally supposed to star in, but he wanted to do like a warts and all story, and the band just wasn't having that because most of Queen is still alive, and they're like, no, we're not going to be portrayed, even if that was
our whole legacy.
Yeah, even if that's the truth, like that's not what we want. In this case,
cowards.
Yeah,
Cowards.
They shy away from, or I mean, they don't shy away from some of the darker parts, especially towards the end when it gets into just the substance abuse that that became a huge problem. Drinking pills, whatever else.
Yeah, gained a ton of weight. God.
Yeah, and that's what
you can Google Elvis's life, man. It got rough at the end.
Yeah, and I think
great.
that's why I really like this, and one of the reasons is like it's really a tragedy about someone who was like world changing in their presence, and who reached the highest highs, and then just completely crashed, you know, and had a long steady decline into it. You know, this, what most biopics do, and which is kind of cliche and boring now, is, you know, it's, you know, rise to fame, you know, things are great, you know, drugs and alcohol come in, they crash, you know, they fall out, they go to rehab, and then the movie usually ends with, you know, some big performance and some big comeback, and that's how the average biopic does. In this, like, it's kind of just a long decline. Like Act 3 is just, it's the long, slow demise of Elvis, and so I really appreciated that it was different, because there was a lot of highlights that you could have just ended on, and then just had like a paragraph of text at the end, and been like, "Well, Elvis passed away, sadly." You know, that's what a lesser director would have done. But no, it's like we see the long, kind of terrible demise of this superstar.
Right. I'm reminded of Bohemian Rhapsody, right? That ends on like Freddie Mercury playing the AIDS concert, and then it's like not the AIDS concert.
He lived another 8 years.
That's what I'm thinking of. Like, God, Live Aid. I'm sorry. Yeah, right. And then it ends, and then it's like a paragraph and black and white footage behind him. Yeah, and yeah, he had another almost decade after that, you know, or even like Rocket Man, right? Like that movie ends in what feels like the middle. You're like, where the hell's Fat Elton John? Like, we don't get any of that. Like, he just gets out of rehab and he's good to go. It ends in the 80s, for God's sake. Where's the rest of the story?
Yeah,
this movie goes all the way. Like, and I appreciate that commitment. And it does feel a little dour, like on the way down, but you get a really good 35,000 foot view of Elvis's career. You get a lot of the highs, like his comeback after making movies and this really cool Christmas special that he completely went against the advice of Colonel Tom Parker and the people in his life to make, where he said, nope, I'm going to make this cool thing. And I'm going to do me. Or going to shows where people said, hey, you can't dance like you do. It freaks the women out. And it's against the Bible. And he's like, I don't care. Like, I'm a do me. I think it's important to have stories like this one. And I think it's really cool that Elvis is presented in this fashion. Cause yeah, it gives you the good and the hope and the ideals of this heroic kind of figure, at least in music, without, you know, having to see all of the tough stuff that nobody really likes to talk about. I hope that's for the best. You know, I can't speak for the parties involved, but something I do wish I'd seen a little bit more of, just a little bit more. If I could make a request for something I wish I'd seen more of, there were scenes in Bohemian Rhapsody, in Rocket Man, where our band is coming up with the music, right? They're showing like how uniquely creative they are and the talent that really makes them who they are is the music and their ability to kind of craft tunes. And there's one really good scene of Elvis doing this in this movie. It's when he gets his residency in Las Vegas at the International, right at the third act. He gets his whole band together and like a 30-piece orchestra, which is bananas. And he starts bringing them together with music. And he says, okay, now horns do this. Now drums do that. Now you do this. Now choir do this. And he kind of directs them into this like kind of roar of music. It's really great. And that's awesome. I wish there'd been like, I don't know, one or two more scenes of that. Cause a lot of his early work, which is a lot of the songs that we know, he just starts playing them at concerts. Like, okay, now it's jump a year ahead and he's playing this song now, you know? And I'm like, okay, that's neat. But like, the guy genuinely was incredibly talented. Like he wrote some really incredible music, and like you never really get that. You never get him scribbling down on a notepad late at night or anything, you know. I don't know, maybe he stole all his work. I know he stole some of it, which is not also something the movie doesn't really talk about. But I don't know. I wish I'd been a little bit more of that. Like give me that genius, you know, let me see it.
Yeah, I did appreciate the movie. Does at least talk about the roots of where Elvis got most of his music from, which was jazz and R&B and gospel and basically black music, and then he presented it to white audiences, which is hugely problematic. But I mean, it was also the 50s. They weren't gonna accept. There's a whole conversation at the beginning of that of like, no, we can't put a colored person on stage, like. But the movie is very honest in showing how influenced he was by the music of black culture.
Yeah, it's got a lot of him hanging out on Beale Street and hanging out with people like BB King and okay, I'm hard pressed to think of any of the other. There were a few other like known people.
Little Richard,
Little Richard. Yeah, Little Richard is in there. Yeah. Like, and that stuff's important. I think. Like, I think that's good that the movie doesn't ignore that. Like, that's one of those things. If you had ignored it, would have been bad. You know, I get ditching the temper. I get ditching the ladies. I get not talking about Priscilla Presley's age.
Yeah. It hints at it at least a little bit.
It does. Yeah. There's two lines about Priscilla Presley in there that put it together. If you're really listening, at one point he mentions that there's a decade between them. And then when you first see them together, he's a GI and you're like, he's what, 23, 24. She's 10 years younger than him. It's fine. It was the 60s. No, it's not fine. Actually, it's bad. But you know what? It is what it is. The 60s and the 60s.
It was a different time.
It sure was.
The last thing I kind of want to get on is the music itself. Phenomenal soundtrack. It's on Spotify. It's nearly 2 hours long. You can listen to it. I think part of the challenge of any biopic is you can't just like, oh, here's that song. You know, I'm gonna keep bringing up Bohemian Rhapsody because that is such a mediocre movie.
It's easy to compare to.
You have to kind of reinvent, I think, or present the music in a new, exciting way, and that's exactly what Baz Lurhmann does here. Is, you know, we have the recreated performances by Austin Butler, but we also have really new mixes of kind of classic Elvis songs, but also mixed with a more modern artist. There's Jack White, Doja Cat, Tame Impala. Like, if you look at the soundtrack, there's all the Eminem as well. So they took his old classic music and a bunch of new artists and mixed it all together, and it works really well. The score is done really, really good. The score will have a lot of like snippets from his music also.
Yeah, blending new hip hop R&B with older time periods is something Baz Luhrmann is a fan of. He does it in Gatsby, he definitely does it in Moulin Rouge. This movie's no different, and it works really well. Like, I don't dislike it. I think it works. The whole idea is that he's eliciting an emotion from you, the audience, that makes you feel like you're enjoying the modern sound as much as the people, the audience in the movie, were enjoying the sound of Elvis, right? The same feeling of elation, just with different music to fit the modern time. And uniquely match the tone of the visuals on screen. It works. Like, I don't dislike it. I've gone back and listened to a few of the tracks in here. Eminem during the credits was a surprise. One of the reviews I read pointed out the similarities between Elvis lifting elements of black culture in his career and Eminem doing the same in a different time period. I was like, never even would have thought to make that connection, but I guess That's a read. Overall, I like it. Yeah, and as far as the music goes, what I read is they blended Butler and Presley's voices. I don't know if that means you use Butler for the chorus and you use,
Well, if you
but
look at the
like
soundtrack,
on
there's
Spotify, some of them are listed individually, so I can't really tell. But it like the point is, it's seamless. Like however they did it,
yeah.
it works great, and it sounds like Elvis. And good for them. That cannot be easy to do.
Yeah, the getting like some people, said he doesn't really look like Elvis as much, and that to me that's fine. I think the more impressive thing is that he sounds like Elvis.
Yeah,
He could sing, he could recreate his voice, and
right.
song. Like I think that's the bigger challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's the
You get
perfect.
enough makeup, you can make me look like Elvis. Like
Yeah, and I think that's the perfect analogy for like the larger film. A lot of the movie does not look like the 50s and 60s. It's like crappy CGI. There's some of these transitions. There's this sequence where we keep using a camera to whip around the sign or outside the International Hotel in Las Vegas at night, and it looks so bad. It looks like something from Sharknado. But like it comes at you so quick and wrapped up in so much emotion of the story, you don't care. Like you just get like you're able to just kind of let that go and enjoy this long epic feature for what exactly what it's supposed to be. It's genuinely impressive. It's genuinely impressive that you could see so much less than what it's supposed to be and feel exactly what you're supposed to. Like and by God, I don't know how Baz Luhrmann does it, but he pulls it off like somehow. Uh I think with that we should probably get to reviews and recommendations. Andy, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Would you recommend Elvis?
Yeah, absolutely. I was really blown away by this movie. I wasn't real sure what to expect. I'm a fan of Baz Luhrmann, so I was sure it was going to be fine. Uh, but really enjoyed it. It stuck with me. It's made me be more interested in Elvis because I like Elvis is the music of like my parents' generation. So I am not the target audience, but it really captivated me, really interested and engaged me. The performances are phenomenal. The soundtrack and score are phenomenal. Butler's probably going to get an Oscar nomination. Probably won't win because he's so new. Uh, but just phenomenal. Is one of the highlights of the summer, I think.
Yeah, I'm equally impressed by Elvis. I can't believe I liked it as much as I did. It's so easy for me to talk smack about Baz Luhrmann because he's a fever dream of a director. This one totally works. Like I somehow, to me, it's better than the sum of its parts. I really liked Elvis. It is too long. I agree. If there's one thing I could say, I wish I could do. I wish I cut a half hour out of it.
Yeah,
It
we
just feels dense at parts.
we get to Vegas and there's like an hour left,
Yeah,
and
and you're just
that's
like,
like that's
what?
like the third
Yeah,
act.
what is the rest of this movie going to be? And yeah, because it's so kind of winding, and I wasn't really familiar with Elvis's career going in. I wasn't exactly sure where all the beats were going to be. But everything that's important, I think, is pretty much there in one way or another. Would recommend. Yeah, Elvis is a lot of fun. I'd say probably go see it in a theater if you can, and just be ready for that runtime. That's the one. Get the large popcorn. You're going to be there a while. It's a long movie. And with that, we should move on to our next segment. That our Elvis review ran a little longer than I expected. Andy, you mind introducing this one?
It's time for the trailer park.
Go ahead.
All right, so so we got a few trailers here we're going to be talking about. We'll just jump right in. The first one is called 13 Lives, and this is the story of the big rescue mission about the what is it Thai soccer team that got trapped in those caves several years ago. They were there for several weeks, and had to figure out a way to rescue them and through a very like dangerous mission, these flooded caves. This is a new film by Ron Howard. It stars Joel Edgerton, Colin Farrell, and Viggo Mortensen. And when this just came out today, this looks great. I really liked it. It's very claustrophobic. Like it reminds me a lot of The Descent, where you're just because you have these divers in these small caves underwater. Like it's gonna, like it'll give you a panic attack for sure. And we know that that's a positive story. That kind of we know how that ended in real life. So that'll be. I think it looks great. What do you think?
So I would have completely written this movie off. I saw the trailer earlier today, if not for the star power attached to it. I think I'm relatively familiar with the story of the Thai cave rescue. I don't know all the details, of course. I'm sure the film will get into it. But I saw the trailer earlier and thought, Prime Video, the thing that happened just a couple years ago, it's fine. Right? Okay, that'll be fine. That'll be mid. And then I saw from director Ron Howard, and I was like, oh. Hold on a second. Then I saw starring the lead from David Cronenberg's new movie, Viggo Mortensen. And also starring Colin Farrell. Ooh, and also starring Joel Edgerton. Like how could I not want to see what's happening in this movie? The trailer, like Andy said, looks surprisingly claustrophobic. I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. Like normally I wouldn't care, but somehow this one has managed to pique my interest in one way or another. Next up, we have Barbarian. Barbarian is a horror film coming out August 31st about a young woman who arrives at her Airbnb late at night from out of town to go to a job interview, and she opens the door and finds that somebody else is already there, another guest. And the guest says, well, played by Bill Skarsgård. Bill says, from It. Bill says, come on in. Why don't you just sleep on the couch? I'll sleep in the other room. It's not a big deal. We'll get this sorted out. She tentatively agrees to stay and then finds in the middle of the night that not all is as it seems, and she may not be as safe as previously expected. This looks like an interesting little horror feature that would be coming out of somewhere like Blumhouse. I think it might be. I'm not actually sure who's producing it, but what I do know is it's written, directed by one of the guys from The Whitest Kids You Know, Zach Kreger, who has not directed anything in a really long time other than some Whitest Kids You Know sketches. And watching the trailer, I would not think this is coming from a first-time director. I mean, he's not really first time, but I'd say this is first kind of big feature. And here we are. It looks dark. It looks spooky. I'm interested, and I it might just be good advertising. But if I didn't know any better, I'd say this might be kind of good. Andy, what do you think of the trailer for Barbarian?
Yeah, I was a little bit intrigued. Again, it's a little when the person who plays it tells you to, just stay overnight. It'll be be fine. You probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
But he's actually. It appears that he actually disappears. From this house, this Airbnb that's got like some. It's revealed to have like this creepy tunnel system and screams coming from it. So of course he's got to go investigate. Definitely looks creepy, and it's got a decent cast. So I'm interested.
Next up, we need to talk about the new teaser for Hocus Pocus 2. Hocus Pocus 2 coming from Disney. When is this coming out? September 30th, streaming only on
Straight
Disney
to streaming.
That's that's right. Starring the return of the Sanderson sisters. Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker are all back for the film. This is assumedly following up the original film, Hocus Pocus, which was a straight to Disney Plus film. No, I went to theaters. I think Hocus Pocus was in theaters. I take it back. Hocus Pocus.
Of course, it was in 93, or whatever.
93, yes, that's when that came out. And now, 30 years later, here we are for Hocus Pocus 2. There's not a lot to say about this one, honestly. It's just a teaser. I just wanted to mention it because I think this will probably get some love, right, from millennials on Disney Plus. The Twitter will have memes. Andy, what do you think?
I am not interested in this.
All right,
I did watch it for the first time a couple of years ago. Hasn't aged particularly well. It's just super cheesy. It's super camp, but it was it was a hit back in the day. It's very Disney. It's extremely white. I don't think there's any people of color in that whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
Don't watch old movies.
Right.
You're gonna have diversity. So I'm not interested in this at all, but I'm sure there's going to be lots of people who are excited. People that grew up with this or watching this, kind of every year will be super excited.
We watch Hocus Pocus every year, naturally. Hocus Pocus 2 deserves to be talked about, although it probably will not be all that outstanding. With that, we should move on to our last trailer. This is for Lyle Crocodile. This is a live-action animated feature starring a CGI alligator, or crocodile, I should say, named Lyle, who likes to sing. He's voiced by Shawn Mendes, young singer. Also stars Constance Wu as his kind of caretaker of some sort, neighbor, and Javier Bardem is kind of a kooky villain. Looks to be a little bit like Paddington or Paddington 2, but in New York and made by a studio that is not going to care nearly as much as the folks who made Paddington did. Not a lot to say. I just thought it was worth mentioning because I saw it making the rounds. Andy, any hot takes on Lyle Crocodile?
No, I haven't seen the trailer.
Well, you don't need to, buddy, because there's not a lot there. But I don't know. That's the potentially hot new animated thing kids are going to be talking about for a season that's coming out in October. Date unannounced, and that'll be theatrical. So there's your movies. That's what's coming up. With that, we should move into our final film of the episode. I'm going to be taking the summary, so please excuse my clumsy delivery of the movie's Lightyear. Lightyear is the story of Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, Space Ranger, who has just gotten out of his hypersleep cube when he and the rest of his crew have landed on this giant mysterious planet. Turns out it's not exactly where they wanted to be. They were just course correcting, and they're heading off into the wild blue yonder to start a new civilization and discover the secrets of uncharted space. And when getting marooned on this planet, it turns out they actually have a hard time getting out, potentially because of something Buzz did. And Buzz makes it his mission to help everybody get off the planet by hopping in his spaceship and discovering a new form of fuel that will help them reach hyperspeed. But every time he hops in his spaceship and takes off, the hyperspeed makes him lose 4 or 5 years. Because math, I don't really know how physics work in this
time
this Pixar
dilation
universe. That's right. Yeah, sure. And somehow that ends up launching him into the future, where he has to get together in this kind of dystopian hellscape that has become this planet that he and his crew used to be marooned on, and he has to rally with some survivors and hopefully get back to his time, get back to his place, and save the universe. This is the 5th film in the Toy Story franchise. I know it's not necessarily affiliated with Toy Story on its face, but it opens with 3 title cards that all explain how it works in the Toy Story storyline. And that is very simple. In 1995, Andy went to the movies and he saw a movie that made him buy his favorite toy, Buzz Lightyear. This is that movie. this is the movie he saw.
It's so clumsy.
Whatever. Yeah, it's fine, I guess. Like whatever gets asses in seats, huh? The movie stars Chris Evans as the titular Buzz Lightyear, Kiki Palmer as Izzy Hawthorne, and Taika Waititi as one of the goofy comedy. I don't know. The movie is Lightyear. Andy, what'd you think?
I thought this was all right. I mean, it's a fun movie for the kids and adults. I really liked the first act is really strong. Has a lot of really good visuals. It gets a little clunky in Act 2 because we are all of a sudden we're farther 50 years in the future or whatever, and then we're introduced to 4 new characters, and it's almost like another movie starts from there. So like the writing's a little all over the place. It does end well. Did like the last bit part of the movie, but it's a little clunky. It's going in a lot of directions. It does kind of lack the kind of Pixar charm that we've come to know and unfairly maybe expect from the Pixar brand. But I thought it was fun and funny. It could maybe be a little bit shorter. This has been a little bit divisive. Some people are thinking it's fine. Some people are thinking it tarnishes the Toy Story brand. I don't think it's that serious because I don't the character. I mean, that is the funny thing or the interesting thing about Toy Story is it's essentially an existential crisis when Buzz comes along because he's like thinks he's a space ranger and then realizes he's not, and that's a huge. And it's funny to have existentialism in a kids movie, but we don't get any of that in this because this is like a space. He is actually that space ranger that they're trying to portray. It's fine. It's fine.
So
I don't know why people are mad.
Yeah. By the way, before we jump into it, Toy Story 1, dude, holds up so good. I went back and watched Toy Story 1 just a couple months ago. That plot is airtight. Like, it's so good, start to finish. You got the favorite toy, then the new kid shows up. He doesn't like him. Like, they fall out the window. Oh, dude. Anyway, yeah. I've been surprised at how many people have been real mid on Lightyear. It's got like a 75, I think, on Rotten, which is like fine, something like that. Like three out of four critics recommend Lightyear, but the other ones don't. And I wanted to figure out why. I'd heard some people say it's bad, it's not exciting, it's not one of Pixar's good ones. Pixar is a studio that makes two kinds of movies. They either make movies for adults that look like a kids movie, or they make movies for kids that look like a kids movie. This one is the second one. This is not like made for older people. This is not like Soul. This isn't even really like Turning Red. And I know a lot of people might be like, Turning Red's made for 13-year-olds. Yeah. But a lot of Turning Red is surprisingly adult and mature.
Yeah.
And this is not that movie. This is made for like 8-year-old boys. If I was a kid and I had action figures and I just finished watching Power Rangers and I went and saw Lightyear, I would think this was probably super cool. If I was in 1995 and I was Andy and I saw this movie, I'd have a Buzz Lightyear toy. I would think this is dope. And there's a lot about it that is really clever, but it is not one of Pixar's made for adult movies. They are not sneaking one by you. You're not like, oh, I'm gonna feel something really deep from Lightyear. Nope. This is one of the kid ones. This is one for the kids.
It's one for the kids.
Yes, this is a kid Pixar movie, and I think I actually really liked it. Like, it's not amazing or anything. It's definitely got problems, but what's most redeeming, I find, is in its visuals, which I think we should talk about in a minute. First things first, Chris Evans plays Buzz Lightyear, right? God, I was gonna say Woody Allen. Not Woody Allen.
Tim
not
Allen.
Woody the Cowboy. Tim Allen. That's the one. Tim Allen. Thank you, Andy. Tim Allen has historically played Buzz Lightyear in the past. Chris Evans is taking over the role here. I think it works great. I think
Do we
Chris
know
Evans does a great job.
why that is?
Why, Andy? Go ahead and tell me. I bet
No,
you know.
I don't. No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, why did he take over? Or why does it work?
No, why does he take over?
Why did he take over?
Why
Okay.
didn't Tim Allen come back?
Okay, there's what I think is the legitimate reason, and then there's my under the table reason. The legitimate reason, I think, is because Tim Allen was not great as Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story 4. He was really uninspired. A lot of his lines were flat. He wasn't used a lot anyway, but I thought he was okay. And we need Buzz to be like young and energetic and exciting and bold and like, dude, he was barely getting it, 5 years ago in Toy Story 4. He was fine. He's fine as Buzz. The reason I think he might have been replaced for Chris Evans in this movie fundamentally is because Chris Evans is just going to have more star power. He's just more relevant, right? More kids might know who he is. Captain America's playing Buzz Lightyear. Like, it's a lot easier than, oh yeah, the dad from Still Standing or whatever that show was.
Yeah.
last dad standing. I don't even remember. He's going to be in a movie, right? Like, it's the same reason they cast Chris Pratt as Mario, is because it's exciting. And I think Evans does a really good job. Like, the reason I think it works is because Evans is playing Buzz Lightyear. He's not trying to do a Tim Allen impression. He's trying to do a what he thinks Buzz Lightyear would be impression. It's a bit deeper and it's a bit gruffer, but it totally works. Like, he's kind of this goofy guy who's very mission oriented and is kind of keeping up with his mission log. But he's on the straight and narrow. He's doing the right thing. He's determined to help and do what's right. Like, Buzz Lightyear is a bit of an all-American that way, a bit of a meathead. And that leaves a lot of room for his supporting cast, brought in by Keke Palmer as Izzy, who is this kind of young, spunky girl who's taking no shit from nobody. She's excited to become a space ranger, and she's met the real Buzz Lightyear, and Buzz is we're going to work together. It's going to be great. Taika Waititi plays this kind of goofy comedy character named Mo. Let me tell you, man, I feel like I'm already running into Taika Waititi fatigue.
He's everywhere.
Fatiti. It's like Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yeah, it's like every Disney movie now is just gonna have Lin-Manuel Miranda do the music, and he's gonna voice a character in it, and that's just gonna be the way it is. Like, that's how I feel about Taika Waititi. I'm like, God, he's directing Thor. He's doing this. He's on that HBO show I just watched. Like, I can't. It's a lot. I got a lot of Taika Waititi going on, but it's pretty good. And I'm gonna say that's everybody exciting in the cast.
Bill Hader.
Briefly, this movie makes the tragic mistake of introducing Bill Hader very early as a very small voice character and never bringing him back into the movie. And Bill Hader's great. Bill Hader voiced Flint Lockwood in 2 very successful Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball movies for Sony. You probably could have just used more Bill Hader, but it's fine. At least they got him on set for a day. They got him on a Zoom call to voice a couple lines for him, and they stuck him in. The cast I think does a good job. I like Keke Palmer. She's going to be in Nope soon, which I'm excited to see. Her and Chris Evans feel very authentic. Taika Waititi feels like Taika Waititi, but that's, I'm an adult, not made for me, made for kids. So yeah, Andy, any thoughts on performances?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think because we have this whole kind of time travel thing that's happening, and we have kind of not son, mother daughter dynamic with Izzy Hawthorne, and then her daughter Alicia Hawthorne, voiced by Uzo Aduba, who's famously in Orange Is the New Black. If you've watched that show, she's great. What to me is kind of clumsy. It's not necessarily the performances, but like again, we get introduced to 4 new characters in the second act, and it's almost like a new movie is starting, and then it's just a lot going on, and then it kind of also turns into like MacGuffin hunting, where it's like first we got to do, it's like becomes a video game. We got to do A before we can do B. Now we've done that, so we B before we can do C.
So yeah, that's what I mean. Raya and the Last Dragon had a similar setup. They were like, "Hey, we got to go on this journey. We got to pick up all these pieces along the way to get to the destination." Like, I would have thought that was awesome when I was a kid, and I feel like if I was a kid now, I would have felt that was cool too because it feels epic and it feels endless, and it's like, oh, it's this constantly evolving adventure. As an adult, it feels shallow. It does. At one point, they literally get the thing they've been looking for a while, and then drop it to go do something completely different in service of the thing they just found, and it's like you can just moving those goalposts further away. Like that does feel chunky.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I think the performances are good. I think Evans is great. I forgot that it was Chris Evans half the time. Like he felt very natural in the character.
Yes. Yeah, he does a great job.
To me, it's more of a story issue.
I agree. I think the script is a little rough. I don't remember. You saw it before me, and I think you said, and I'm gonna put words in your mouth. I'm wrong. The first and third act are good, but the second act is weak. Or did I have that backwards?
No, that's correct.
Yes, I felt the same way. The first act of this movie actually real interesting because I just figured it was going to follow the trailer in which you feel like you've seen the whole film, right? And I was like, here we go. Let's hop on the trailer roll and just do the trailer for 90 minutes. But no, like the first act is actually fairly different than what I thought it was going to be. It's actually surprisingly reflective. It could have been a little bit more emotional. I don't know. You might as well really punch me in the gut while you were there. Second act, it does dry up a little bit. Andy's right. They introduced 4 characters at the beginning of the second act. That scene, by the way, when they introduced them, that's exactly when I got up to go to the bathroom because I was like, ding, now's the time. Like nothing particularly large is happening in the story. Yeah, it's the turn of the second act. Time to go hit the head. And that was great.
Again, it's like it's 2 different movies. The first one, the first part is let's do this mission. The second part is then like, oh, we gotta learn to work together. We got this gang of misfits, and
yeah, and
like they should have been introduced like in Act 1. It would have been
right, like, and then had like the fun missteps away from the trailer because I that stuff was the best stuff, right? The stuff that I didn't already see, and then additionally in the third act, we roll right over that as well, and we get some new stuff that I didn't expect. It was pretty good. It's a little ham-fisted, but overall, it gets the point across. What is it? 100 minutes. This movie's not an hour 40. Yeah, it's not very long.
Again, it's like you said, it's a kids movie. I don't know why
it is. Yeah. This is a kid movie made for kids.
It's such a high narrative standard. Like,
yeah, and I think Disney's had some trouble with that because it's been underperforming for them, and I think it's partly because of controversy and partly because it's just confusing. Yeah, it's like, is this Toy Story 5? Do I need to have seen Toy Stories to know what is happening here? This is a Toy Story character. It's just like, it's clumsy and really what, like, I wish it wasn't trapped by that, but it is, and on its by itself, like in a vacuum, I think it's pretty fine. It might even actually be kind of good by itself. It is a space epic, which Pixar does not do a lot of. Last time I saw a Pixar character in space, I think was Wall-E, right? Mm-hmm. So that was kind of neat to see them doing ships again. And I so loved the look of this movie. Yeah, here's the bit where I should talk about the visuals. I've heard people say this movie does not have any soul. This movie does not have the heart and the soul that other Pixar movies do, including the movie Soul. I disagree. I think that is here. I think that is in the visuals. And I think people weren't looking for that. I think people were looking for a bouncy script and some bubbly fun. And that's not always there. But what is always there is the visuals. This movie is strikingly good looking. It has incredible throwbacks to all kinds of science fiction, film, TV. You've got looks at Star Trek, Star Wars. You got Blade Runner in here. You got James Cameron's Aliens. You got James Cameron's Terminator 2. You got Terminator 1.
2001.
You got Alien. You got David Fincher's Alien 3 in this movie. Like, there are so many. You got time travel movies in here. Like, you have so many cool science fiction properties that had to exist for this movie to fly. And it totally works. There's so many neat sequences in here. There's an airlock sequence. Characters have to get from one side of a ship to the other by blasting out the airlock. And you've got laser beams, and you got giant robots, and you got gravity boots, and you got jetpacks. Like, there's so much cool stuff going on in this movie. And it's all presented through this like beautifully lit lens. If you're watching on Facebook, you can see just one frame I've got from the trailer up. Like, this is a children's film. Look at how good this looks, you know? Like, it's crazy. Go back and watch the trailer. Watch that David Bowie trailer once or twice and tell me that there's not something happening here. I think the reason that all gets sidelined is because people are looking for a good script, and you're looking for fun, right? And you're looking for the frolic of a children's movie. Like, you want to see the heart and soul of Pixar. It's on the screen. Like, you just weren't looking at it. You didn't see it the way I think it was meant to. That is the emphasis here. Like, it's not some big moral lesson. I think it's a genuine artistic presentation of science fiction. Like, and I think it's really good. And it gets swept up in, it's a Toy Story 5, and it's a weird prequel, and it's a kids movie. Like, I think that is misaligned with the intentions of the movie. But props to the art department, because good God, this movie looks good. Very impressed with the visuals.
Yeah, the action sequences look phenomenal when Buzz is doing all these kind of test flights in the spacecraft. Really exciting, looks really cool. The planet looks good. The aliens and robots are, again, that's where the, like you said, the heart and soul is in the visuals for sure.
Yeah.
Some other interesting kind of tidbits. So the movie is doing okay financially. It's struggling, but it was also hammered right between or it's in the middle of a busy film season. It came out a week after Jurassic World, a few weeks after Top Gun, which is still in the top 5, and then Elvis. So it has a lot of competition. There's also a kind of outside theory that because Pixar has released 3 films in a row on streaming, that people are just expecting Pixar to be on streaming and not have to go to the theater. I'm not sure how much that is, may or may not be true, but it's something I heard.
I know, and I feel terrible about that, because I do think Pixar films should be in theaters, and I the last 3 have been on streaming services, and it's been a bit of a bummer. Turning Red was at last minute turned into a streaming only film. It was supposed to be theatrical. The Pixar studio people were mad as hell about that, reportedly. And this one is their first real swing back at theaters, and it's like one of their most underperforming so far. I'm concerned about how the future of their films will go. They will likely be going to streaming. And it's like, good God, Disney, did you really manage to run one of your premier studios into a streaming only function? Like, it may be a good thing for Disney, but it's a bummer for me, because I think these movies really do present the best blown up on the big screen. Like the silver screen is where I want to see these stories. And it bums me out that that may not happen as much because of what I think is misaligned vision. But I mean, I don't know. Who am I to say how Disney runs their stuff? But I was impressed by just how tangibly sci-fi this movie feels. Like, there's so many little things. There's Socks the cat, which is this cyborg little, it's not just cyborg, it's just a robot, little cat rolls around with Buzz. That's really goofy. It's made to sell toys, but is uniquely staged as kind of an interesting droid character, and it's kind of sweet and funny and helpful. At least Socks feels more helpful than damn R2D2. And I love the way like the fuel crystals like rotate and shine, the way that the Buzz is trying to get to turn into hyperspace fuel, and the way that this fuel like is like this gel liquid that like pumps out of these jars, and the stuff he's got, like, it all just feels so thoughtful, like, and it feels so well produced by a team that really wanted to inject some personality and some heart into a story that on its face is a little shallow. I agree. And overall, I think that makes it worth talking about. At least I know it's not for everybody, but I know it'll be on streaming soon. And when it comes there, I would say, I guess I'll have to wait till recommendations to say what I would say. But I do want to talk about the score, Michael Giacchino. Andy,
It's
any
good
thoughts?
stuff. No, it's good stuff. We're given the I can't remember it, but we're given like Buzz has his own theme and it's repeated a lot throughout the movie. It's very good. It's very memorable. I can't recall it at the moment, but I do remember that sticking out to me as a good theme for Buzz Lightyear. Buzz Lightyear.
Yes. Giacchino does most of Pixar's films. You'll know him from the bombastic scores of The Incredibles 1 or 2, or I think Ratatouille. I mean, he does most of them. He's done Cars, but I mean the ones that are really big brass, like loud orchestra, like that's what this is. This is going to be like big set piece music, and it's good. It's I'm not going to say aggressive, but it feels very like cinematic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I'm not a music man, but at parts I wish it was a little slower, a little quiet, a little thoughtful, but I'm an adult, not made for me. This is a kids movie. Like this is supposed to be for kids. And good. Like I think that's what kids need. They need that energy. Like they need those big set pieces, right? For things to come together. They need that action to feel very climactic. And I think Giacchino does a great job. I don't know. Any other thoughts for recommendations?
I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend Lightyear?
Yeah, I would. Even I wouldn't even say straight. Save it for streaming. I enjoyed it a lot in the theater. It has really great visuals. Take the kids, take the family. Definitely have a good time. It gets a little bogged down in the second act. Like I said, you're introduced to a bunch of new characters, and you kind of got to go on a bunch of side quests, basically. But outside of that, it was a fun time. It's there's a lot of good humor. There's Socks the cat is going to sell a bunch of toys, I'm sure. And yeah, it was overall pretty enjoyable. A lot of fun.
I really enjoyed this movie. It's not perfect. The script's the script's a little bland. It's definitely got problems. It sags in the second act. But I think there's something special happening here, and it's not the most fleshed out, and it's not the most ideal. Pixar has definitely done better, but like for what's happening in Lightyear, like they certainly could have done worse. I think you should try to see it in a theater if you can, if only for how good this movie looks. I think it's a really good looking flick. I'm excited for it to come to streaming. Whenever it gets here, I'm gonna start cutting out frames and tweeting them, like because there are scenes in this movie I was like, God, this looks good. Like God, the lighting, the way this came together, the shadows in this scene, like just I know that sounds small, but like there's something really special happening in Lightyear, and I think for the person with the keen eye, or the 8-year-old who it's actually made for, I think you're going to enjoy it. So that's Lightyear. And that's our show. That's episode 181. God, Elvis and Lightyear. Elvis and Lightyear sounds like a nighttime radio DJ pair, don't they? Elvis and Lightyear.
Yeah.
Until midnight. What are we watching next week, Andy?
House of Gucci.
House of Gucci.
House of Gucci is coming to Amazon Prime Saturday, July 2nd. So we're going to be checking that out because we missed it back when it came out in November. Had some Oscar potential, and I finally get to see this ridiculous performance from Jared Leto. We're also going to be checking out the Black Phone, which is the horror movie starring Ethan Hawke, which actually came out last week. But we watched Elvis for the show, so we'll be catching up this week. The big release for the 4th of July is Minions: Rise of Gru. We will be skipping that one, but that is just so people know that's out this weekend, big release. And then come back the following week for Thor: Love and Thunder on July 8th.
Yes. Very excited to talk about House of Gucci. I've seen a little bit of it on an airplane, so I'll have to go back and restart it when it comes to Amazon on July 2nd. And the Black Phone, I'm not as excited about. It looks fine. Tell you what, like you make a horror movie, you take your big main star and you stick a big dumb mask on him so nobody can see him, and then you cast a bunch of nobodies, but particularly children around him, and you make that a movie. Like, it'll be fine, right? Like I don't know. It'll be fine. It's making some good money. It comes from Blumhouse. It's got Ethan Hawke. How bad could it be? I'm sure there's some tension in it. So we will check out the Black Phone. And one more thing worth mentioning, and well, I got a couple of things worth mentioning, but House of Gucci was Ridley Scott's second film last year, his first film of The Last Duel. And I watched that not that long ago on HBO, and it's pretty good. I know we briefly covered The Last Duel on the show. Andy watched it and covered it, but if you haven't seen it, Last Duel is pretty solid. Go check out The Last Duel. And we'll see about House of Gucci next week. Did you mention... sorry, did you mention Thor? I was all keyed up.
Yes, I did.
Last Duel.
Yes, I did.
All right, perfect. Well, then, yeah, Thor's coming out as well eventually. We'll go see that. And yeah, I think that about covers it. If you enjoyed the show today, if you like what we're doing here on Off Script, if you enjoy us talking about movies, maybe want to hear more, or maybe want to weigh in with your own opinion, email us at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com. Send us some of that sweet, sweet correspondence, and we might just read it on the show. You can follow us on Facebook, where we live stream our show every Tuesday. You can follow us on YouTube, where we post our live streams after the fact. We're on iTunes, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Google, we're on Spotify, we're in all the usual places you get your podcasts, and also all the usual places you find podcasts on social media. But the biggest thing you can do to support your boys here at Off Script is just subscribe. Just subscribe to the show to get new episodes delivered straight to your phone every single week. Also leave a rating and review if you can. It helps out podcasters more than you know. Folks like us really appreciate it. So with all that being said, I think that about covers it from Off Script, episode 181, the home of Bold Cinema. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.